everybody to Spirit Talk. So what we're going to do today, we're going to veer off a little bit of our 2020 and just have a discussion that's going to be about 35 minutes. We want to catch up with you to see what have you been noticing in the past 2 weeks. And then we're going to move into a discussion on your inner perceiver. And how do we all receive guidance? And then what do we do with that guidance after we receive it?
Yeah.
So after that, we're going to, Penny's got something really fun planned for us. We're going to tune into a unique source of guidance and do some journaling. So does everybody have something to write with or your journal? If you don't, please go ahead and grab it because that will be an important thing to have when we get there. And we're going to give a little bit of extra time for that. So we're going to start that maybe at about at 25 till. And yeah. Penny, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good overview of it. And I just wanted to kind of tap in and see where you all are, like what's been up for you, since we started, or even in the last couple of weeks. What kind of themes are happening for you? What sort of things are you noticing in general? What's the energy doing, and how's it affecting your life? I just wanted to get some feedback about that. So, I mean, for me, I'll just start by saying that I'm having the weirdest experience of time. And I don't know if everybody else is, but I mean, I just said to somebody, I think I'm giving up months and days, and I'm just going to be in a time stream because it's so frustrating to me to have to remember these little blocks of time that we use to manage life, because it just seems like it's streaming anyway, and so I am just out of the box around that, I guess, or things seem to be going so fast. How about for some of you? Anybody want to say some things that you've been experiencing?
I'm a numbers person. I've always been a numbers person, and I'm always a clock watcher. And I happen to notice all the time these numbers like 1111 or 444 or 333, stuff like that. And it's been coming on heavy in the last few weeks. And whenever that happens, I go look up the numbers, and find out what
does it mean to you that you are noticing that kind of thing, though, in general? What do you make of that? As if your soul is talking to you by showing you, and your inner perceiver is helping you notice these things, why do you think?
Because I think it's a message. It's the way, in some cases, it's the way angels talk to you. In some cases, it's the way someone's trying to communicate with you. For me, it's not that odd because I've always been a numbers person. So at first I didn't pay too much attention, but then I kept seeing them all the time. So I started investigating them, and there was some pleasant messages there, so I pay attention more now to the numbers and, see what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open to any interpretation to them. It's a nice way to feel watched over and protected,
Yeah. I mean, you can take it literally and go look up the numbers and see what you think they mean, and there's a message in the meaning of the numbers. But you can also look at just the idea that you're having these repetitions, and something is getting your attention, look, or be conscious right now. It's like drawing your attention totally into the present moment. And then what you might do is think about what you were just thinking about, or what is the thing that's right under, I call it the underconsciousness, that's right underneath the surface that wants to spring up,
oh, that's a good connection. I hadn't read that. They don't say that. They just tell you what the meanings are.
Yeah. And that's maybe not always all the full thing of it,
Yeah, but paying attention to what you were just thinking about, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the part that hasn't quite made it to the surface of consciousness yet. There might be something lurking there, that wants to come through.
Yeah, especially when I see these numbers in the middle of the night and I wake up.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But we can do this same idea with any sort of omen or any kind of weird, thing that is out of the norm to make us be aware that right this moment, wake up, and
Yeah.
what am I paying attention to? What is real? What's, what do I really like? What's my next act? What, whatever, the hidden message. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks for that, Lucy. Sharon has her
Yeah.
hand up, but before we do that, I want to welcome Esme to the call. Hello, Esme's joining us for the first time. And Esme, we're recording this call, so if you're comfortable with that, we'd love to see
Perfect.
everybody's faces.
Great.
Yeah, where are you from, Esme?
I'm from Florida, actually.
Oh, great.
Orlando, Florida area.
Oh,
Great.
not too far from Penny then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. And Sharon, what did you have?
Well, I had a question because we just brought up numbers. Last time we talked about this, and somebody mentioned 9/11, that had a significant meaning. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that having making that contribution?
I don't. I remember now this might not have been in this group, but talking about 11/11.
No, this was 9/11, and it's a number I see quite often, and I think of it as, 9/11 is an emergency number, or it's what happened to our country on that date. But somebody had a positive spin to that, and at the time, I didn't make note of it, what it was. But
Well, my knowing about numerology, I would say, 9 is kind of like Pisces, where you're opening back up into the universal mind and in the imaginal realm and the collective consciousness. And the 11s are, the higher version of a 2, which is all about intuition and making a link to the non-physical realm and bridging,
Mhm.
bridging stuff from that higher realm back into this realm, and then perhaps even giving it out to others. So for me, it's kind of a symbol of opening your consciousness and getting connected to higher frequencies.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Elizabeth. All right. And Jasmine, I didn't see you there in the beginning either. Great. All right. So we were just talking about what has been going on and what we're noticing in the energy in the last, gosh, I don't know, month or so, or last couple of weeks. Any oddities of the way your energy has been working, or odd things that you're noticing in people around you, or the way things are functioning?
I've been really, really tired, but the time seems to be flying, like you said, Penny. But
Yeah.
It's almost a tiredness like in every cell. So even if I meditate, which normally would really refresh me, I feel okay for a while, but I am just so exhausted. Like there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Almost like I'm a rag doll being swished around in a tumble dryer or a washing machine or something.
Yeah. Well, I've not been sleeping much at all. And so there are days, but you think, oh, I'm never going to be able to function. And then you go through the day like you're fine until you get to this certain point where you just can't think anymore, and or I need to catch up with like a really long sleep day and night. But there's been a lot of that. And I always attribute that to really high frequency energy. It's almost just got me revved up to a certain point. And, but I've also noticed a lot of interruptions, aberrations in terms of, appointments and people missing things and coming and going, and things being very, very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Yeah, definitely in the flow. When you go in the flow, then that kind of happens.
That's what happens.
Yeah. I'm trying to play with it though. Like when I recognize I'm in the flow, just to really enjoy it, and then just play with what the possibility could be coming. And it could be possibilities that are beyond my imagination that I'm pleasantly surprised with. That's been kind of fun to play with. So it really brings home that my thoughts, when I'm truly conscious, become reality.
Yeah, yeah, this helps
Does
to
that
have
make
there's a
sense?
good reason that person canceled their appointment. Something
Yes.
else is going to come in.
Yes. Or I think of someone, an old friend that hasn't, local, but it popped in my head. And then the next thing I get a text from her, and
Right.
that's pretty cool too. That happened last night. So that was kind of fun to see that kind of thing. So I think that's the last 2 weeks has been kind of cool. Like my thoughts, and then boom, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I've also noticed I had conversations with a few friends where they brought up this idea of I can say like shifting into the higher non-physical dimension and then coming back and everything being different.
Yeah.
Almost like an ability to have instantaneous healing by just getting out of your pattern here where we're so habituated into a certain way that things are, and then go out there and it's not there anymore, and then you can bring that back with you, and then this reality changes.
Yes.
Is that
yes,
occurred
exactly.
to anybody?
Yes.
Yes, I
and-
can go ahead, Jasmine.
Oh, go ahead, Kelly. Kelly, go ahead.
I
I
was
just have a
just
cool
gonna say-
dream about that.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to that. And Penny, you and I were kind of discussing that the other day, where and it's a lot of teachings with like Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're getting to that state where you can go beyond the physical, and you're more energy and less matter, and then coming back into the physical form, and coming back closer to that original blueprint.
Right.
Like an
And that's where-
out-of-body experience?
Yeah, not quite to that degree. It's just going to where your consciousness is a little bit separated from your body. And then in kind of in that deep meditative state, but where I'm fully conscious is where I feel like I've, really made a step forward in healing my body.
Yeah.
If
I'm
any
not
of
sure-
you,
it's like the ball gets bigger suddenly and you're out beyond just the little reality that we usually live in during the day, somehow. And so out there, time and space aren't the same. There's no time lag between things. There's no, it's more of the soul and less of the fear-based personality. And when you go out there and become conscious kind of at that level, that I think changes what I would call your inner blueprint. And then as you come back and bring that pattern with you, because things are so fast in the physical world right now because of the acceleration, the physical world aligns with that inner blueprint faster because there's not so much resistance to it being illogical. It's like we've gotten to a higher consciousness state now where these things seem much more natural, so we're not like, oh no, that's impossible. No, I mean, these things are like, yeah, we're considering the absolute correctness of these things. Yeah, Elizabeth.
Okay, I have a question for you about that, because when you talk about, I'm going to, when you talk about your inner blueprint, in my head, I see like a blueprint for a building or something, which roughly stays the same. And you just said, as we're expanding, the inner blueprint changes. So even that inner blueprint isn't constant.
It's not fixed. No,
Yeah,
it's a constant, evolving, fluid, flexible thing. Depending on, how much. I think of it as something that's composed of, habit, like thoughts, fixed ideas, and emotional beliefs, and things that we did here in the physical world that we got locked into. But also your spiritual sense of purpose and what you, the soul, are trying to bring through into the personality. Sometimes, you can't get through all those fixed beliefs and you have like a struggle energy. But if you go out and you clear yourself and you become more transparent, right? You're getting rid of the fixations and stuckness, and you're allowing energy to move around. And now your inner blueprint can be more of the soul-based stuff, more of the truth of how spirit works. And then when you come back in here into the physical, things seem kind of miraculous. You know, you have more like instant manifestation of things and better good luck, you know, and stuff like that just starts happening. And then you don't have your old past patterns of your programming. You know, I was talking to another friend about how just the other day she felt like her programming just dissolved. Like she didn't have to have it. Like it just occurred to her, I don't need that.
That's so
It's
good.
not part of me. And it was like, duh, you know, but she just really got that she just it melted away, you know. And I think this is part of the frequency of what we're living in right now, is that these things are so much easier, or the things we thought were going to be a hard slog, you know, like going to therapy for 10 years to get rid of this. It's happening almost overnight in a way.
Dawn, you had something you wanted to
Yeah,
say.
I think it fits nicely the sequence with what Penny was speaking about. So I have been playing around in Mary Morrissey's kind of work, you know, the Dream Builder program, and there's this book called The Science of Growing Rich, and Bob Proctor told her to read the 4 chapters, 4, 7, 11, and 14 for 90 days. And I've been doing that, and it's just miraculous, you know, to the reprogramming, you know, that there's one substance, you know, that, and everything that's imprinted on that, you know, becomes form. And today, so I've had a period of work, you know, 7 days or something like that, and I'm back at work today, and the most amazing thing has happened. So I'm back in, yeah, my team is really, I'm not the team leader, but the team I'm part of is really falling apart in a way, and in a big way, you know. So I won't say more than that for confidentiality. But what was so interesting, rather than going into the story, because just over the weekend, it just like clicked in, as you were saying, Penny, that actually the power is not in the circumstances. The power is in the energy. Oh, that, you know, so I know that I have to still stabilize my energy totally in that, but I've had a different dialogue with me, you know. And so somebody said to me, I just want to let you know I'm leaving, you know, and actually I want to be the person leaving, not because of the negativity, but because I want to move on to something. But the path isn't quite opening up yet for me, which is okay, because I know there's more for me to learn and develop, and I rather want to leave at the right time. But I've had this like, so this continual reminder, you know, the energy is not in the circumstances. Remember, it is within. And I've enjoyed how I can only describe it, maybe my soul's voice being more dominant. You know, it's not totally just the dominant voice. There's still the other part of me, but I can just kind of, you know, remember this. You know,
well, it is kind of like you're allowing, you know, our need for identity, you know, that we're not attaching it to the physical world and, like you said, circumstances or results or what we have or what we did and accomplished. It's more that it's about the way we feel and the state of being and the way life works in this really kind of frictionless or fluid way. And we can materialize things we like, and we can dematerialize other things we're bored with. And, you know, it's like it's a fun place to play.
Yeah.
And I think also that, you know, there's this feeling of replacement of that drudgery with a sense of joy and childlike playfulness around a lot of things that everybody else agrees are miserable. Misery producing, you know. And
I just kind of knew that this stuff is going to rise, because I heard you know, these words about people having a high porosity of aliveness, you know.
Yes.
And I want that, you know. I know I'm close to that, but I want that more consistently. So,
right. Well, you know, I think that the whole thing about energy is that it's really directed by your attention.
Yeah.
what you place attention on, and your attitude, of course, which is part of your attention, that the way you use your mind, and then also, so to go to positive thinking, but not that kind of will based positive thinking, but more a sense of allowing and joy, and let's try it, and let's go, and let's open up the flow of things, and trust, and like that. And keep losing the second half of my thought. Anyway, so that positive thinking, but also trust, I think, is like the big thing, that you don't, the left brain doesn't have to know what's going to happen ahead of time, or doesn't have to have it already cataloged in there, like as a previous experience.
Yeah.
That it's not scary to have a new experience.
Yeah.
And we're learning to open into these greater and greater possibilities, I think.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the really fun thing in life.
Yeah. And just on the kind of the blue patterning, Michael Beckwith, he talks about how we have now got the privilege of recoding our DNA, that this is an era where we can, and that we do have this innate fear-based DNA, fear in our DNA, but this is the kind of season, as it were. And
well, I think that the inner blueprint, whatever way it's been held throughout various of your lifetimes, that creates a DNA pattern, which to me is a mathematical construct that's a pre-materialized form. It's part of the inner blueprint, but deep drop down a little bit from the thought forms and all that. And so as you clear fear out of yourself, then the inner blueprint changes. And the more you clear and the more you become transparent, the DNA will start to shift because of that inner blueprint, which means that you may not need to have a disease later in life, or you may not have to follow the same kind of aging pattern that your parents did or whatever. So that a lot of what you think you've inherited, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And you can create yourself depending on what you hold as possible, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. So, wow, we wandered off there.
What's cool is the neuroscience that backs up all of that. That's what I find fascinating, that our blueprint is in our wiring of our brain and where it's at, and all the ancient teachings that correlate with it, like Jung's work. And that, like, if anybody's familiar with Carl Jung and his 4 archetypes, and it's kind of like the first archetype, your persona is the left brain, and then you have the 4th archetype, which is like your authentic self, which is the goal we all want to get in meditation, right? And maybe that's where our inner blueprint is at, our deep right brain neurocircuitry that we don't access as much, but we just need to practice more, which we do in meditation. And
yeah, I think a lot of the inner blueprint is from the thing that you emphasize a lot and place attention on a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're in your left brain a lot, you're needing structure and security and definition, and are afraid of change often. It's a really great thing to have the left brain because it lets us be conscious of things.
Yeah, it keeps us safe. It's a friend too. They're both our friends.
Yeah.
But the right lets you play more and have more fun and create, which I've been enjoying since we started these practices.
Yes. So any other things you've been noticing, like any omens, or last week we talked a lot about the this kind of signs and symbols and dream imageries and things that you've had.
I had an interesting, I believe, a couple of intuition hits that were related. And I think it has to do with me traveling back to Minnesota, where we're from, and we're going to be going back for a family wedding. So my husband's entire family is going to be involved. And as you know, whenever the big extended family comes together, there's all kinds of roles and patterns and personality types that come into play. And I haven't really been thinking about it. I'm really looking forward to going. But about a week ago, I had a dream where one family member that has been a little bit difficult, and I think it's not personal. I think it's something that she's been going through. But in my dream, she appeared younger, beautiful, vibrant, and she was balancing, I believe it was a child, with holding their feet on her hands, which seemed like such a symbol of strength, and which, is very different than how we've been experiencing her these past few years. So I in the dream was pretty vivid too, and memorable. So I've been kind of contemplating, okay, so what does that mean? Am I to see her in that light when I go, because that will help my perception and my being. But then on top of that, something else interesting. A couple of days ago, I was doing a meditation. It was a short meditation led by a medical intuitive. And it was just a simple breathing exercise. And then she had us breathe into our third eye. And at the end of the meditation, like many that I've done, she said, and now your guides will give you a gift. And a lot of times when I'm in that situation, my left brain is like, oh, I'm supposed to see something. Where's the gift? What is it? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, but in this situation, I saw something right away. And I think this is where I know it's coming from my intuitive side rather than me making it up, because boom, popped in a crown. And it was kind of a colorful gold crown with colorful jewels on it. And I knew it was to go on my head. And then my left brain came in a little bit like, a crown. Okay, so what is that about? Is it the crown chakra? Or then I went to write it down. And I found that when I was journaling, or when I had the pen in my hand, things came quickly. And I felt like this was also a message to me about things for me to keep in mind when I'm in this big family situation is, and let's see, the things that I wrote down was to be mindful, be regal, be diplomatic, be unflappable, be gracious, and reserved, just as a queen that would be wearing that crown would be. And then I kind of remembered the dream and kind of tied the two things together.
Yeah, I think they are tied to, at least my thought is that that woman has probably gone through some sort of awakening or some kind of process where she's in the middle of opening up now, and that child is her new self, that higher self that she's now connected to or supporting it as growth. I don't know. Yeah, other people can chime in too.
Yes, so interesting, because I only saw the feet. I didn't see what was up above, but that's so interesting.
Yeah. And then a crown, what I've gotten in the past is that it's really a symbol for that council of beings of your soul group or whatever that's up above your head in, like, quote, the sixth, the 8th and 9th chakras, where, because I always see, my council in like a round table up there, and they're all sitting around it, and I have a place at the table. But the jewels are like the beings that are in your, higher council. That it's your way of connecting and getting guidance, higher guidance coming in from those higher levels. And those prongs, it's like their antenna that are bringing things in. And why wouldn't kings and queens and royalty have headdresses that help you do that, that give you that special ability, So there's something there about this connection with that next level of consciousness that you're getting, and that somehow you're going to maybe have in common with her when you see her. That would be anybody else have like thoughts or interpretations of what that might be? Esme?
I've heard of the concept. It's an archetypal concept because I study a lot of stories and things like that of the spirit child, which is like immediately what that reminded me of, which is that like it's the alchemical balance between the masculine and feminine in a person that then births that self, right? That you're seeing, that new like higher self. It's the merging of opposites. It's sort of like the balancing out of the things that are like polar. So maybe you and the person that you're referring to that you saw in the dream are like going through this sort of process of, you notice it in her, right? And so maybe it's also occurring in you, this union of the opposites.
Yeah. Because that's true about dreams. You know, you think it's somebody else, but it's you. It's like everything all together at the same time happening like that, you know. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like all these things can have multiple meanings too, right? And then not just to look at it so single focusedly. That was really helpful to hear those things from you guys. Thanks so much. Yeah, Sharon.
Also, you said that the baby was in her hands, but you didn't see the whole child. And that seems to me something that's emerging, and it is a balancing act, but it is in her hands, you know, literally in her hands. And, and perhaps in your hands too, because we just take the inner aspect as well. It's in your hands to be diplomatic and graceful and see this new self emerging within her.
It might be interesting to do a little meditation, go back into that dream, and then let your perspective enlarge so you can start to see the rest of the child. You know, pull back the camera and see what else is there. You know. Okay, Sally.
I also see blessings coming to you if you hold that high ideal that you have. And that blessing will also be given to the child that she is balancing, that you can bring to her a strong process if you hold your royal consciousness.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that. Good. I love that. Well, Penny, we're
I was just thinking that too, that we need to shift gears into the experience. And this is going to be, we're going to take a little time and do some direct writing about, and the question that we're going to focus on is, what do I need to know about my next phase of growth? And what wants more attention now? So I'll repeat that so you can, what do I need to know about my next phase of growth? And what wants more attention now? So I'm going to lead you in a quick little meditation to get aligned, and then you can start getting dictation almost in your head and then start writing down what you're getting. But in order to do that, you're going to have a helper. And it's going to be one of these, I made up this years ago. It's a whole bunch of names that are on these little pieces of paper of well-known people or characters. So I'm going to pull one for each of you separately, and then you're going to meet this person in the meditation. So I'm just going to randomly pick. So for Dawn, you get Bill Clinton. Christine, you have Abraham Lincoln. Okay, Kelly, you have Tinkerbell.
I love Tinkerbell.
So fun.
Okay, and Sharon, you have Katharine Hepburn.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Fancy.
And Julie, let's see, this one. Marilyn Monroe. You have Marilyn Monroe.
So that'd be Lucy. Yeah.
Lucy. And Sally, Hold on. Jennifer Lopez. All right. And Jasmine. Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. All right. Now, Esme. Let's see. Bob Dylan.
Interesting. Okay.
Elizabeth. Elizabeth Getz. John the Baptist.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So I want you to close your eyes and have your pen and paper right there in front of you. All right. So we're going to just kind of clear the space in front of you in your imagination, make it nice and open, and get centered. And then I'd like you to imagine that you are, let's say, at a beautiful outdoor cafe in Paris, France, on a beautiful sunny day in the spring. And you've got your notebook there with you and everything. And then this person that you're going to be friends with here is coming in and sits down at the table with you and joins you. And you say hi, you greet each other. And you say, thank you for coming today. I really will appreciate your advice. So what I'm really interested in is, what do I need to know about my next phase of growth? And what wants more attention in my life right now? Can you talk to me about that? So what do I need to know more of about my next phase of growth, and what wants attention now? And then just let them start to talk to you in your mind first. And then as they start talking, you can just kind of transfer that and very easily just start writing it down as you get the ideas. And we'll write for maybe 5 or 7 minutes, let's say. But I'd like to hear from some of you, or maybe even all of you, just a little bit about what you got. You don't have to read the entire thing, but if there are any kind of fun sentences or anything that you got that you'd like to share, let's go around and see who your person was again and what they told you. Kelly, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, my person was Tinkerbell, which is so interesting because I just love the Disney and the Disney characters, and I've always loved Tinkerbell. And it was also seemed very fitting. And I just saw her at this little cafe table in Paris, and she was kind of laying down, propping her head up on her side. And she's always very sassy, but the word that came in was spicy. Like, she was communicating to me like, girl, you need to spice it up. You need to have more fun. Stop being so serious and just, go about things with more ease. Go after the things with more ease. And what wanted more attention was leisure life, friends, connection, exploration, and experimentation.
Aha.
So
that's really good. That's perfect.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Thank you.
Okay, Jasmine, how about you?
Such a fun exercise, Penny. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I mean, I was sitting in that bistro in Paris, enjoying the sun on my face, drinking that perfect latte, and here comes Benjamin Franklin, hobbling over with a cane and sitting down his jolly self. And he said that this is a year of innovation, no expectations, creating the authentic you. And then when it went to what to focus more attention on, it went back to deep soul conversations and healthy loving relationships. But this was when I knew it was truly him, was when he said, practice keeping the brain waves in theta with waking consciousness as you're doing. This will help you stay in the flow like electricity. This is why I was so fascinated with lightning. And it was a way to understand that who makes thunder, but yet is kind and loving. So the big message he was giving me was make your own thunder, create your own thunder, yet while being kind and loving your authentic self.
Fantastic.
So that's when I knew it was him. I was like, okay, this is cool.
So good.
So fun.
Thank
So
you.
fun.
Okay,
No, thank
Elizabeth.
you.
Elizabeth, how about you?
It's really funny because I live in France, so I go to Paris quite frequently, not lately. But so I was like, which cafe do I want to pick? And here's the funny thing. The cafe I picked is 1 block away from the apartment my friend owns, which was Benjamin Franklin's salon in Paris. So I was like, I don't know why I picked that one, but I was like flitting around. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sit here. Anyway, my person was John the Baptist. And my first thought was, really? You know, I thought it was all crusty and dirty and coming out of the desert. Well, this young guy comes up to me, 20 something, sits down at the cafe with me. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. The young John the Baptist. And basically the message was a couple of things, but it was like about that all the lifetimes of persecution for sharing what I know have already been lived, so that there's none of that anymore. And my question, of course, was, okay, then what? Didn't get that yet. But as I was writing, like I was thinking about, like, yeah, like, you know, he had it pretty tough. I mean, he was beheaded. So I was like, oh, okay. And then just go beyond seeing things the way you have seen them. And I was thinking, yeah, like even looking into the Madeleines and the Mary Magdalene and the Essenes and all of that. I was like, oh yeah, there's so much more that we don't know. So that was basically the message, was just really dissolve all of the structures around any of that, you know, who has to come first and who has to come next and so forth.
Yeah. And he was so courageous. I mean, really amazing.
Yeah. And not being like, he had to do all that work and yet he didn't get to be the star.
That's right.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one. Okay. Sally, how about you?
I had J-Lo. And I had trouble with the when I was last in Paris out in a cafe, there was smoke all around. So the first thing I did was clear the smoke. And she sat down next to me and she was serious. And I thought, she's been through suffering in her life and she's worthy of being listened to because of what she's been through. I'm not sure what she's been through, but I know she's been through some.
Oh, and she's so disciplined. I mean,
yeah. And she dances some. But anyway, it was like Kelly. It was like I had been going through a difficult storm, and I asked for it. I asked Spirit. It was the answer to a prayer. And it's part of my clearing myself out on some of the final things before I leave the planet. I need to clear things out. And she said, you asked for this time of clearing and it is coming. It's like walking through a storm and avoiding the rain and wind as much as possible. Do not fear, it will resolve itself. And I wake up some mornings with dread, just dread of becoming conscious. And sometimes I'm absolutely fine and I laugh and I giggle. So it's erratic what's happening. And my inner guidance tells me it's things that are happening in spirit. You know, they're working on me in spirit. And the most attention that's needed is to stay very close and connected to spirit and let them lead me through the storm.
Good. Good one. Right. Thank you. Christine, how about you?
Hi. So I had Abe Lincoln, and basically, I've never learned anything about him. I grew up in England, apart from I know he was assassinated, which, yeah. But I guess that might be, I don't know, but just putting some interpretation. What came into my mind was basically, you go on after death. So he was assassinated. He's sort of no longer with us, and didn't die a particularly great death. But I think I've been drowned or burned in past lives anyway. So what do I need to know about the next phase? It's just, I got this whole thing about just not trying so hard, to just let things happen and be in the flow, which is what I'm trying to move more towards anyway. But don't let us sort it out for you, was the message I was getting. So again, like from spirit. And then what do I need to pay more attention more is just being and not doing.
Yeah, I like that,
So
because in some ways I think Lincoln really didn't try to become famous or anything. He just let his life unfold, even through death, even to be assassinated. He was in that flow. That's an interesting angle on him, I think. Thank you. Okay. Now, Julie, what is your...
My name, yeah, I know.
What is it really? Yeah, here.
Lucy.
Lucy, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My character was Marilyn Monroe. And I always loved her, and I had a lot of sympathy for her, but our lives couldn't be so opposite, so different. And she came and sat down at the table, and she was wearing the dress she wore in the 7-Year Itch, where she stands over the subway grid,
right.
and her skirt blows up. Yeah. And she was very contemplative. She started talking about her life a little bit and trying to not compare, but say, talk about my life. And she was giving me a lot of compliments, which were reassuring. And she was very intellectual, which you just don't associate with Marilyn, But then I kept asking, so where am I going from here? What do I need to pay attention to? And my health is always number one in my head. I don't take very good care of it, but that was a theme in there. And what do I need for growth? It's just to get out there more, which is going to be difficult, because during the pandemic, I've just been basically quarantined. I don't go out there at all. And, I may be quarantined for the rest of my life until the pandemic dies out. But that was one of the main messages. It was a very pleasant conversation, surprisingly,
Good. Interesting to see that other side of her. You suspect it was there, that she just didn't show it to the public.
It's cool. Know. What a sorry character.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked her.
Yeah. Okay, Esme, how about you?
So I got Bob Dylan, and I had to bring him back into my mind. It's been a while since I've heard anything but him or even seen him. So I was like, okay, I have to kind of recreate this. So we're sitting down, and it's very relevant to my life at this point, because I pursue art, in the things that I try to do, I try to make them commentaries about the world and humanity, and sort of understand the world through art. And, I asked him, I want to be someone like you. I want to have mastery. I mean, he's considered one of the greatest songwriters who've ever lived, right? He's a 60-year career, right? So I was like, so how do you do that? And he's like, well, you do that by being yourself and being intensely interested in what it is that you're doing. You don't become that by being interested in being beloved by other people. You become a conduit of something greater. And I thought something he said to me was really interesting, which is something that I'm learning right now, which is like, because I have one skill I'm very good at and another one that I'm developing. So he said, you are both in the same, you're a master and a fool, right? And be the master or the fool in the right moment, right? Be either or in what the moment suits, right? So is it good to be like subordinate and almost be like an outsider and I don't know what this is and I'm observing it? And then when do you leverage your mastery? Like when do you speak up? And so it's very interesting. I don't even know how to describe it, but thank you. It's a really
He
wonderful
seems like
exercise.
the perfect person for you, really.
Yeah. I was like, I need to listen to more of his music afterwards, get some inspiration. So
They have
thank
that
you.
great documentary about him on the American Masters program. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's really quite
American
inspiring.
Masters.
Anyway, okay, Sharon, how about you?
Well, I love Katharine Hepburn, and she's from my era of time also. And she was such a character. She was so much her own person.
Mm-hmm.
And so she told me that I was going to produce a children's book, and it will be from my beloved dog Peaches, and it will be about unconditional love and her earth time here. I've been actually languishing since she died on April 26th. And it was a really painful time for me because she was literally my soul companion. And it's been a struggle without her. And so the idea of writing a book from a dog's perspective and the adventures here on earth and unconditional love, and also a friend whose grandson, her dog died, and he doesn't understand about heaven because his parents don't believe in God or heaven. And so I thought that would be a wonderful perspective. However, I could bring it in for a child to understand. And you know, we love our pets so dearly. And so it just seemed perfect. I might even do a movie, a short film about it. And with her energy, I just felt like that was very possible and very plausible.
Yeah. And what were you to pay more attention to?
Focusing on the joy rather than the grief.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. All right. And Dawn, how about you?
Yeah, sorry, I was just unmuting. So I couldn't relate to Bill Clinton, you know, I went with it in any case. And so I felt that he was kind of congratulating me on the great job and marveling at the momentum that I have going, you know, staying tuned in and being smart about it and having great insights. And in terms of what I need to pay more attention is just to relax more, you know, to trust more that things are opening up, enjoy the ride a little bit more, and kind of knowing that the next phase is going to be really fun for me. You know, it's a bit like the bamboo that grows, you know, for several years, there's just small shoots, but there's a lot happening beneath the soil. And then, you know, on the 7th or the 8th year, it just sprouts up. Yeah.
Excellent. Wow, this is great. I love hearing all the milieu, the whole thing. So, oh, good. And we did that with only a few minutes over time. So that's great. I think that what was I going to think about for next time? I think something about accessing the subconscious mind. And,
Yes.
And so you might want to think about some questions around that. You know, how do you recognize the information that comes from your subconscious, not your left brain necessarily? It's not the shoulds. It's deep stuff, right? It's deep stuff. And we'll do some interesting, an interesting experience around it. So with cards, I think, next week too. What else, Kelly? What else did we want to say?
Yeah. And we've also got some good ideas for some future topics that will start again in July and August. And just a few things that we talked about was deja vu, energetic patterns, dimensional shifts for healing, reincarnation, that time between lives, that the time in the womb. There's so many fascinating topics that we can continue our discussions on. And of course, we're always looking for ideas from you too. And, what do you want to explore and what do you want to talk about? So please do share those with us.
Yeah.
And
anything's on the table.
Yes. Absolutely. As you can tell, we're a very open group.
Yeah, and invite any of your friends too that you think would like, to be in on these kind of conversations, because the more the merrier. And but I think it'd be nice to have it. It just feels like it's starting to get rolling, and we're starting to get comfortable. And I'm not going anywhere this summer. I mean, I'm not going to be traveling, so I'll be around. So. Anyway, we'll go on for another unit of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be finishing up this unit in 4 in 2 weeks. So that will be July 16th. And I know a lot of you are already
June
registered.
16th. June 16th.
June 16th.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of you have already registered. And if you'd like to register, it's the same link to click on to sign up for the next one. So thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the week.
Have a good rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
good care. Sweet
Bye-bye.
dreams.
You too.
Bye-bye.